Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. We've been experiencing a very choppy market since last week's correction, mostly sideways price action, slowly forming structure each day. This is the time of year where the markets can be all over the place. So in today's video, I'm going to start with the Gematria decode, share some of my insights on days that could be important for the crypto market, and of course go over some technical analysis on Bitcoin and XRP, and also share my sentiments on the altcoin market as a whole. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated for when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. Couple things to go over today. We've had some pretty normal, boring sideways price action, choppy, and essentially not much to report back on, but we've been seeing some structure forming over the past couple days, and that's good. That's where I look to share some of my sentiments. After we have a big liquidation event, it's really hard to have instant TA because there's not really much to say. So with today being an important date, the 10th of December, there's some connections here that I wanted to go over. First and foremost, today leaves 21 days left in the year, and we know this 21 number is very important. We've been bringing it up quite a bit, and this connection between Rosh Hashanah and today giving us 3 months and 3 days. So of course we have this day being the transition into Saturday, which is the day of Saturn, and Saturn giving us that 21 in Chaldean, most pure cipher, and 21 days left in the year as the transition. Also, the date numerology being a 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, giving us 9. And that standard date numerology of 9 tying back to the ticker symbol of Bitcoin, BTC, giving us 9 in Chaldean. And tomorrow is also a palindrome date, something else to consider. This palindrome date, again, 12/11/21. And this is the day of Saturn. Now, this is about 1 week from the eclipse that we had on December 4th. And just the side note on the palindrome, besides that, we have this Sunday, which is what I find important moving into Monday. But let's start one thing at a time. December 12th giving us the 19 days left in the year. And again, this being a Sunday, the day of the sun. And we know 19 is in Ra. Ra being the sun. So there's a connection here that we have to consider. And this is the date that I want to focus on the most. It is the 13th of December. There's a lot to say about this, but let's go one thing at a time. First and foremost, we have next Monday, again, the day of the moon. We know the moon, or Isis, plays a very big role in all of this. Mondays are the days where the stock exchange opens up, CME and Forex are open, and this all has to do with New York time. And in my last video, I went over that in depth, so if you haven't seen my last video, definitely go and watch that. But anywho, this day leaving 18 days left in the year. And we know for a fact this number 18 is very powerful in Judaism. So it's been something I've been talking about ever since I've exposed the date of Shemitah starting, which was Rosh Hashanah of 2021. Again, that was September 7th. That is why I've been using September 7th as the starting point of all of my decodes moving forward, because it's essentially we have this like BC effect to it, where we have everything before Shemitah was kind of a different timeline, and everything during it is a new timeline. It's kind of a joke, but it's actually quite serious, and I only know this through my study of Shemitah, the 7-year sabbatical cycle, the 7-year cycle, and the 7th year being Shemitah. Again, if you're unaware of what that is, you should definitely look into the S&P 500, which gives you over 100 years of chart data, and you're able to see how every 7 years on the Shemitah year, it brings chaos to the market. So again, from this Rosh Hashanah of 2021 to Rosh Hashanah next year of 2022, we are in the Hebrew year of 5,782, which 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 2 equals 22. And this 22 number is extremely important. So I have plenty of decodes to come as we get closer to the end of the year. But for now, I just wanted to talk about this number 18 and its significance to Judaism. And of course, 18 we're getting in Shemitah, in Chaldean, most pure cipher. So this is the way that it's translated back to English if you go and start researching it. Anyways, so this connection is obvious. Also, the 18 is just so powerful when you start to really break it down. So before I finish off this decode, I'm gonna give a little bit more insight onto the number 18 that I might not haven't that I haven't in the past. Excuse me. So one other thing about this date is we have the 66 date numerology. So any of you that have been following my work, you know I like to do date numerology this way and not reduce it. So it's the 12 plus 13 plus 20 plus 21, giving us the 66, and that 66 is extremely important. So essentially next week will be a make or break for cryptocurrency. I'll lay that out right now. Now the direction we go in, that's what's up in the air, and I hope my TA that I share with you later in this video can give you some insights to potentially protect yourself in case anything happens. Again, anything is possible in the matrix, and we've learned a lot over this past 6 months of how insane this crypto market can get during the finality of a bull run. So one important thing to mention about this date is it's the 347th day of the year. Now, 347 is the 69th prime number, and Saturn, again, giving us that 69. And Bitcoin, its all-time high is $69,000. This day of the 13th of December is also giving us 3 months and 6 days since Rosh Hashanah. And this 3-6 we know ties back into Bitcoin. 36 in the full reduction. And this 36 can be perceived as 3 6s or 666, and 6 plus 6 plus 6 comes back to 18 again. Shemitah giving us the 18, and this is leaving 18 days left in the year. And I'll show you something that's important. We'll break this down a little bit more. 18 gives us 33 in Chaldean. This 33 is all about transmutation. And getting back to the 18, which is the 1 and the 8, 1 is the connection to source, the connection to the architect. 8 is the infinity symbol, Taurus, Mobius strip, however you want to consider it. And let's just show you how insane this code is. So remember what I just said, 1 is the connection to source. Connect to source gives you the 69. Just like we were pointing out before with the 347 being the 69th prime, which is December 13th, all tying back to Saturn. But I'm going to break this down by the numbers. Connect to source gives you 69 in Chaldean. And this is what's even crazier. Infinite connection to source. Infinite connection to source is giving you 314. What's that? That's pi, okay? Pi, the 3.14 ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, all right? You see how insane this code is? 3.14. This is all systemic off of me discussing the 18, the infinite connection to source, 1 and 8. And of course, this idea that started getting me going, looking into alchemy and starting to just be more have more expansion in the way that I was looking at this decode. I brought up perfect circle, and perfect circle again giving you the 69 and the 1 2 3, which is the starting point of the sequence of our full numbers. But that 69, it's not leaving us now. You see, once you find a number, you're going to start doing your decode and things are just going to start surfacing for you. It's beautiful. Any decoders out there that have fun with these 4-base ciphers and predominantly the Chaldean, you're going to see it. You're going to see it keep showing up. So this is amazing. And of course, the circle is the sun. Right? That is the alchemical symbol. It is the sun. And just to finish this off, circle gives us the 50 in English ordinal. And next Monday, the 347th day of the year, the 69th prime, will be the start of the 50th week of the year. You can't make this up, how perfect this all comes together. So when we look historically at how Bitcoin and also even the stocks, predominantly tech stocks, are behaving during the 50th through 52nd week of the year, even into the first week of the new year, it's predominantly a pretty solid time. And again, 3 weeks comes back to 7 days of 3 cycles, giving you 21, and that 21, of course, coming back to Saturn. All right, and we're in the 21st year of the 21st century. Again, we will be finishing off the 21st year with 21 days, and this is just amazing. Of course, this is the transition we're in now with 21 days left in the year. That's today. Okay, again, 3 months and 3 days. It's amazing how the number 18, even when you spell it out, comes back to 33 in Chaldean. This is all tied together, guys. It's really fascinating. So the point of this decode was just to break down a little bit more into how the next week might shake out, moving into the 50th week of the year. Again, 50 coming back to Circle. And any of you out there that know a little bit about stablecoins, you're aware of USDC. Circle, which was created by the government. Anyways, let's move into some technical analysis and have fun in the charts. So I do want to go over some short-term analysis. Again, the stock market opened about an hour and a half ago, bringing volatility to the crypto sector. I believe around like 8 a.m. New York time, the market was actually looking really good. Bitcoin was up like 4%, and now it's pretty much flat again. And as it's flat, of course, it's going to bring pressure to the rest of the other cryptos. And you can see almost everything that isn't red is just flat. That's how this crypto market is operating at this time. Bitcoin has definitely started to show its teeth. And let's go to the 4-hour chart because I think there's something to be said here. So what you see when I zoom in is this red moving average. This red moving average is a 34 exponential, and this is the 4-hour chart. So what Bitcoin is struggling to do in the short term is close 4-hour candles above the 34. This one doesn't count because it was an immediate rejection down, which is forming somewhat of a W pattern. And this is a textbook W pattern. Again, I've gone over these patterns quite a bit, but the point of what I'm bringing up right now is 4-hour closes above this 34 exponential moving average, followed by eventually 4-hour close above this 55 simple moving average, which is this white moving average, perfectly in line with the 618 fib, going off of the fib pull from the prior all-time high back in April 14th. Again, I've been holding these fibs the way they are. So you can see the prior all-time high coming in on April 14th down to the swing low of the 23rd. That is the macro fib pull that I am working with at this time, and I am not going to change it because whatever happened on these 3 or 4 days of us breaking into new all-time highs was a bull trap. We know it's a bull trap now, followed by this huge correction that we've gotten. So I'm keeping the fibs as such. Now, there's clearly a resistance going on at the 618 fib, so that level, overcoming that, would need to be done with 2-day candles, perhaps a 3-day candle. A 5-day would be even better. A weekly, of course, would be better. Now, could we close this weekly above the 618? Absolutely. That's only an 8 or 9% move, but we just have to see how it's going to go. Lately, the weekends have been fucked. Every single weekend has been gross. So I mean, last Friday, as we transitioned into this, not last Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, again, dump. Then Saturday night last week, dump. And it was a really massive liquidity event. I'm sure we all remember it. So I don't know how this Saturday is going to go. Again, by the code, it kind of just is what it is. I would not be surprised if we do get some volatility, but it's the date of the 13th that I am more I'm paying more attention to at this time. Not so much any days on this weekend that are standing out to me. By the code, it's Monday that is standing out to me. So 34 EMA, 4-hour closes, looking good for more upside activity. And then eventually we just need to start getting above the 618. At this time, we're just ranging sideways, pretty boring, and building a base pretty much on the 4-hour closes around 47,000, which is a good thing. Holding a base structure above 46,800 or this 0.5 fib is nice. Again, this huge liquidity event was literally 7 minutes long. It doesn't even count. Again, if you traded it, sure, it counts. But ultimately, this structure was just a backtest of the 0.5 fib, which isn't that bad. With altcoins, we've seen break of new all-time high. bull trap coming all the way back down to the 236. Okay, we've seen that happen all the time. We even seen that in the last bull run of Ethereum before it went into a crazy parabolic alt season. So I'm just letting you know, this backtest of the 0.5, it's not completely out of the cards. What we didn't do was hold the golden pocket, so we swiped through it. But ultimately on the 4-hour closes, all we're doing is holding the 0.5. It's not that big of a deal. Now, I'll be sharing downside targets, of course, because it's very important at this time, but I'm just letting you know. We've already been trading in these areas now for quite enough time. This 3 valleys pattern, or whatever you want to call it, you got first valley, second valley, potential third. This is like where it hits a pivot point. We need to pick a side. Either it is up or it is down. And if it's down, we have to consider how to be cautious, because again, this is the time and structure where we typically expect what's called an alt season. And that's hard to get if Bitcoin's just holding these lower 50,000 levels or high 40,000 levels. It's not going to give the juice to the altcoins to push it up. So again, typically when we have the end of a bull run, we have a top followed by a very immediate reaction. This being about, on this chart, 36%. On some charts it was as much as 39%. Again, it's all going to be different because every single exchange has different leverage, and that leverage will, give you different prices. So the point of which I'm saying is, after we have these huge corrections after an all-time high, we typically will see about a 40 to 50% bounce. This 40 to 50% bounce would be bringing us up to around 60,000, as high as 64,000, and that would not be weird because that would be another lower high. So you have your high, you have another lower high, and then getting only 63, 64 would again be another lower high, and that would be a bull trap, a textbook bull trap to look out for a alt season. Anyone who studied the 2017 market and how it ended into the 2018 early January timeframe, that's essentially what Bitcoin did. The same exact thing. And if we were to zoom out and have Bitcoin come up really quickly and then get rejected again, this would look like a blow off top in like a daily chart. I know that it's like a Bitcoin blow off top. It's like looking more like a stock now than it used to look like back in the day, which is to be expected. The higher the market cap gets, Bitcoin's market cap is higher than Wells Fargo. It's higher than a lot of banks. So you're not going to have it be as sharp of a blow off top as typical. So anyways, you can see right here, off the blow off, we have about a move somewhere about 44%. And then off of that 44%, we're jumping up again an additional like 60%. And then that rejection coming back down, breaking lows in the structure. This whole move happened in about 40 days, okay? Where we dumped off the top, came up for the relief rally, and then broke structure again on the bottom. So what I'm trying to say here is this bottom wick, it's sort of a crystal ball, but it's hard to determine this wick because every single exchange gave us different numbers. Essentially, just into the middle of the correction of September is what we could keep an eye on. So that's the next thing that I have to say. If I go to the daily chart and I bring up my exponential moving average, 200, you can see that this 200 is converging with the 8 simple moving average. Getting rejections when these converge is not weird. This is very normal. Now, this structure bottoming could be very similar to this September dump, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the long and short of what I'm about to say is this 200 simple moving average, it would be great if that would hold. If that would hold on dailies, that aligns perfectly with the 0.5 Fibonacci. That would be really great. So just letting you know, closing dailies below this 0.5, which is also in line with this 200 simple moving average, that is not good, okay? That would tell me we're probably going to start playing around in these lower 40s, perhaps 42, 43K, and then we really just need to see how it goes from there, because if Bitcoin swipes down an additional $2,000, around 9% down, that's going to bring the alts down substantially. So you got to protect yourself at this time. Now, with that being said, there is something to say about this potential structure right here, where we have, let me turn off everything and you're going to see what I'm talking about. So we have a high followed by a rejection, and then coming up into this bull trap followed by another dump. And that could be the type of fractal we got moving here. Again, this scenario that I'm about to explain is the hopium scenario. It is not a prediction. It's just me sharing potential fractal that could be in play. So all I need to say is this potential structure is possible to be repeating. It would just be this was less volatile. This was a much more extended and dramatic version of this. Again, just be open-minded to what I'm about to share. So we have from around here, the day of the dump, which was the 19th of September, down to here, which was the day that it started to actually correct and come back to a breakout. It took about 11 days. Now, if we consider the day before the dump at similar price ranges, we're on the 3rd of December. If I move over 11 days, you can see this actually puts us around the 14th of December. Again, this will be next Tuesday, one full day after the 13th, which is the date that I was exposing during the decode. So this bottoming structure we're having here, if we just deleted this wick, we might be actually repeating a similar structure. I don't know yet. We have to see how this plays out because we still have about like 3 or 4 more trading days. And some of that trading time will be over the weekend. This weekend, again, anything goes with how retail has been acting since the market has become fearful. So you can see after the dramatic dump, there's a quick reaction, which is what we got here. I mean, damn, the bounce within a total of 3 trading days was 20%. And then again, you can see right here, rejection right back down and then holding base support at similar levels. So that's exactly why I'm considering it. And this was both very ritualized times. Again, we had 2 back-to-back eclipses, and here was the start of Shemitah followed by the Shemitah full moon. So it was very important. And anyone who's following my work before this time frame, you remembered how that felt, how this whole move felt. And it was amazing because a lot of the people in my community were really excited about that dump. So it's ironic that everyone's gotten so sad about this dump recently. Again, everyone wants dumps when the prices are pumping, but when the prices are doing bad, people want pumps. It's the endless cycle as an analyst to see how people react to price action emotionally. Again, don't be emotional in this market. It is what it is. Learn from it. Don't let it master your emotions. You need to master it. That is how you become a better investor. So the hopium scenario would be if we were to go off of the lows, followed by a increase of about 64 to 65% within 21 days. That would put us off of the 13th of December around this, let's just call it 47,000. And then if we were to move up, let me show you what that would be like. Again, this is the hopium scenario. This is not exactly how it's going to play out at all. I'm just showing you a scenario. Okay, so off the 13th, 21 days, and then going up about 64, 65%, you're going to see where that puts us. It puts us at 77,000. That would be a new high, and that's where I would get extremely cautious about this market because Bitcoin has been loving to make new highs and have instantaneous pullbacks, so we can't trust this anymore. We are in Shemitah. This is where the market is chaos, and if you see the day that this brings us to, it is the 3rd of January, which again, is one day after the new moon of the new year. That would be so normal to me to see us hit 77,000 on the new moon, around the new moon of January, just because that 77 comes back to Judaism by the code, and the 7s are all tied to Shemitah, again being the 7-year cycle, and we know we're moving into Platinum Jubilee. This Platinum Jubilee is the 70th year of the Queen Elizabeth II since her coronation. Okay, it's all about 7. So if Bitcoin was to hit 77 and then have a correction into the end of a bull run, that would be so I would not be surprised. Again, I'm not saying that will happen at this point. I really don't care what happens because I've been in this market for so long, and I'm really expecting anything to go. Up until this November, like pretty much early November, this market was going exactly according to plan. Then we hit 69K and we got thrown a curveball. We should all expect those curveballs. Again, it's what makes us stronger, but it's also something that we should have all known about, the importance of these eclipses and how they play out, and to stay protected during these times. It's what I've been saying going back all the way to back here. when everyone was bearish. I was the one saying, nope, we're in a reaccumulation after decline. We're going to have an automatic rally into the Shemitah. We're going to have a correction, and we're going to break into new all-time highs. I knew that that was the structure going back to here, and the sentiment was getting scared every single time we got to these lows. Okay, so we need to just be chill and let this all play out. If you're somebody who's over leveraged in this market or has too much to lose in this market, this is really the time you need to be considering securing some of the wealth you've generated while being a crypto investor. That is not financial advice. I am not telling you what to do. And I do not know if we will go to 77,000 by the new moon of January. I'm just sharing with you a potential move that could happen. Again, all of these moves have been pretty dramatic. This move off the lows was about 80%. This move off the lows was 60, all included 70%. You can see the move off of the lows right here in January was 100%. The move off of the correction right over here on November was 150%. Off of the exact breakout was 134%. Bitcoin does this, is what I'm trying to say. It just randomly does this. And every time it does this is after it has a sharp rejection, or sharp dip, like here. This dip, again, 30%, boom, okay? This dip right here, 56%, okay? And it went sideways for a while. So the sideways idea is something to be considered here when we're talking about altcoins and how this could all shake out, because right here on the 10th, I believe it was May 19th, around this time, and then June 10th, we had back-to-back eclipses, just like we had recently back-to-back eclipses. So are we going to be replaying a structure like this, and then do we extend the run out? I'll give an example of how that would play out. Let's just say off the 10th, which was the last eclipse in that structure, and then it takes us 150 days to go up an additional 100%. Again, we're just having fun here. Let's just say off the lows on the dip of the 4th was at 150 days. Even if there was just a 100% move, that's bringing us into May, okay? If people are ready for that, beautiful. But just know that along the way of that move, it's going to be dramatic. It's going to be a lot of news, big corrections here and there. It's going to be random pumps here and there. It's going to be volatile, just like every Shemitah cycle is volatile when you're in the market. And what's crazy is they can pull the plug on this at any time, just like they did last week, where they let the leverage traders just drown. They can do it in 5 minutes. And with all this tether and all this manipulation through leverage, it's easy to wipe people out. So I hope you guys enjoyed all these words of wisdom and an outlook, because this is really what I want this channel to be all about. You know, we're conscious, we're looking at things from a perspective that's quite different from normal analysts, and we're sharing the codes, and we know the codes work. Again, even the December 4th importance, which I shared so long ago, it did work. It was a beautiful date, and the way that it worked out was just the opposite direction of what we considered. But again, that's just how it goes. The market goes 3 ways, and it could go dramatically only 2 ways. So it's a coin toss. And when you're decoding, you're not really working with coin tosses if you know how to actually decode. You can pinpoint special days way in advance, just like we've been doing on this channel since the start. So consider this new moon is interesting, but between this new moon and where we are right now, we have a full moon. So I am very considerate of Saturnalia, which will be my focus on all my videos next week. Saturnalia starts on the 17th of December, and that is a absolute ritual, again, coming back to Saturn being Satoshi Nakamoto. Just consider that. And that would not be weird if we were to have some sort of a ritualized pump into the end of Saturnalia moving into early next year with a correction, because we've seen that most months of December in the crypto market have actually been pretty solid. It's either our extreme lows or it's a green month. So you can see back here, this was December. You can see an increase of 47%. Let's go back to this time frame right here. December, 40%. We could probably keep doing this where we see Decembers aren't that bad. Here, we were up 13.8% in somewhat of a bearish trend. Here, actually, this month was red, but it was when we hit our all-time highs, and it was following an increase of 471% in November. So obviously, you can't expect that to go 100% like that. Here, 7%. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, it's crazy how this month usually does pretty damn well. Right here, you can see 44% going all the way back to 2010. And on the low side, you can see it's typically as low as we'll get. So that's another piece of hopium. It's either the lowest lows or it's where we hit our highs. You can see back here, this time frame, it was moving into our lows, December. So we just have to see how this plays out. Again, we're already inflated. We're off the crash of March already 10x. So if we're going to be extending out this run and holding structure somewhere in the $40,000 range, 45,000, that would not be weird. It would just be different than the last two bull runs. And that's okay, because we have to expect these assets to mature and to start creating different structures. Again, every halving event is going to push things out. It should. And that's what was so interesting about the 4-year cycle theory, and how we learned a lot through this recent correction, because it's showing us that we could have extended cycles. Now we just have to see how far it's extended. Again, if Bitcoin was to play out this fractal right here that we saw, this fractal would end us in January, and then we would not be in an extended cycle if that was the end of the run, because back in 2017 Bitcoin hit an all-time high on the 17th of December. So that would only be an additional 17 days off of last 4-year cycle highs when you're going date to date. 17 days is not an extended cycle. That's 2.5 weeks. So again, I'm being open-minded to how this can end. I'm trying to be calm, and I'm trying to spread calmness throughout my work. So again, downside targets would be anything closing below this 0.5 fib and the 200 simple moving average. Then I would expect a swipe down somewhere into the 42-43 range, which is in alignment with the structure back in September. And I would suspect that holds, and then I would be looking for a head and shoulders, and that would look like shit. I'm just letting you know, left shoulder, head, right shoulder would be in the cards if we start trading back to those lows in the short term. Now, most likely, what we see is a relief rally off of a larger correction, which we haven't seen yet. We know volume has left this market, so it would not be weird to see a little bit of movement up, perhaps into next week, being the 50th week of the year, and I showed you why by the code. Also, around this time of the teen dates of December, the 13th through 19th, we've done pretty well in the past. So again, anyone wants to go back to last year and prior bull runs, we don't do that. We don't do awful around the middle of December. It's perhaps when we move closer to the end of the month that we've had some random shakeouts along the way. But again, just sharing as much as I can. And of course, we have that hopium scenario, which is the fractal playing out. At this time, what I would like to see is just Bitcoin getting back into this golden pocket, trading in the mid 50s, building some strength in there. That's what I would personally like to see as an analyst. But again, the market doesn't do what I want. The market does what it wants, and I just have to be prepared for either way. So let's go on to XRP really quickly and wrap this one up. So now XRP did have somewhat of a ritual pump yesterday, right into around 93 cents. Again, this is just choppy as ever right now. It is holding support, though, around this 80-cent level. XRP really does need to hold 80 cents, and ideally it would be great for it to get above that 236 again. This fib pull is a more normal fib pull. We see it from current all-time high down to the swing low, and this 236 is showing us somewhat of a resistance, which is bad. Okay, so this needs to recover, and I would suspect, we did get into the oversold RSI the other day, and we are dancing around the low 30s at this time. Again, whenever XRP gets down to these 30 levels and then has a MACD bullish cross, it typically leads to a decent relief rally. We've seen it happen time and time again, and if it leads into a 2-day MACD bullish cross, then that's even better. Okay, we can see on the 2-day, this is actually holding support on the 200 simple moving average, so it's something to keep in mind. It would really need to hold these levels. This is not looking good at this time, and especially ETH right now is getting below 4,000 again. So this manipulation is pretty noticeable. It's really funny actually that this is all happening around this time of year, because this is the antithesis of what was expected moving into Q4. based on prior cycles and based on how Shemitah usually goes in the month of December. And again, I've shown you that in the Amazon charts going back like the last 21 years. But anyways, this holding the 200 simple moving average on the 2-day would be beautiful. So look out for that on tonight's or on the next 2-day close, which let me see when that is. It's tonight. Okay, great. So tonight is a 2-day close. Tonight is not a 3-day close, but yeah, that would be great to hold that 200. Because that's normally what we see. And then line in the sand would be this 200 exponential moving average on the 3-day. But again, trading at the low 70s for XRP at this stage of the bull run, it's pretty bloody. So, yep, pretty much for that, the upside resistance is going to be these 200 exponential and simple moving averages, keeping us below $1. That's pretty much where this would need to recover. Getting above those on the daily closes would be strength, and that would show us somewhat of a V-shaped recovery. Let's look at the smaller time frames and see if we get anything. Okay, so you can see this 55 is like straight lining this white simple moving average, rejecting us time and time again. This is building somewhat of a pattern. Again, I'm not a huge pattern trader, but I suppose we do have something coming in here, somewhat of like a weird bearish pennant on the closures. If we were to make this like a line chart, I don't want to do that right now, but there could be something to be said here about some potential bearish pennant forming on the 4-hour with multiple touch points on the downside and then coming off of the breakout and the breakdown on the closures. So again, we have 1, 2, 3 touch points on the downside. This would be a confirmed support level. Not looking good though. This is not looking good. Again, closures above this wouldn't even be that great because we still have to recover these prior highs from yesterday. And then these 200s on the upside are most likely going to be resistance at the $1 level. $1 is like XRP's bane of existence at this time. It really, really needs to start holding that as a new support. Any breakout moving forward, if we get a breakout, it needs to hold that $1 level. Because at this time, it trading in the 80s is a sign of weakness. Not much to say more about this besides we just need to see how the rest of this day plays out. Again, this will be the weekly close for the stock market. The stock market has been all over the place. The dollar, DXY, all over the place. Bonds, all over the place. Again, tech stocks just fucking chopping around. This volatility right now is a no trade zone for newer traders because of what happened last week. Some words of wisdom: do not trade right now, okay? If you're fucking around with leverage over this weekend, you were warned, all right? Stop that. Pay attention to your spot investing account. If you have money to lose, buy the dip if you want. If you don't, just chill, okay? This is not a time to be fucking around with money. A lot of people are trying to revenge trade their way out of this, and we're moving into a weekend where the retail are always going to be the bane of your existence. So again, I'm just telling you this because I've been doing this for a while. I just know. Okay, I remember last year around December, November, this time frame was volatile in the stock market and in the media. The media was all over the place, psyching people out left and right. So I just want everyone to know to stay protected. Again, we just watched the DXY go from being green to right now it's completely reversing in the opposite direction. We have somewhat of this trend line that's been holding a support. This trend line, I believe, goes back to multi-year trend line on the DXY. So anyone wants to draw that on their charts, you can. It's oh, actually, never mind. This is coming in at a little bit lower, below that 382. So I would love to see this 382 start trading below. But at this time, DXY is looking good. And as long as the DXY is looking good, it's going to put pressure on the stock market. And as long as the stock market has pressure, cryptos are usually going to feel it, especially on any volatile days. So anyways, I don't want to get ahead of myself too much. I want the rest of this day to play out. I'll most likely be doing a live stream later on today just to hang out with everyone. Stay tuned for that. Also, anyone who wanted to join the Patreon, it is a new month on Patreon for those looking to join the Mastermind community and get some exclusive content behind the scenes. I'll be doing my Red Pill episode this week. My Red Pill episode is a technical analysis podcast where I go over a bunch of altcoins. And the altcoins I'm going to be kind of spending a little bit more time on in this next week's episode because last week's episode was all focused on the correction. But I want to talk more about an alt season and the ideas and scenarios that'll go along with the idea of an alt season. So that's what I'll be covering in this week's Red Pill episode podcast. You can join the Patreon by going to patreon.com/watersabove, and you'll see the Mastermind community membership is listed in there. Have a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.